There's something about love that spins me. There's something about carry tonight. And maybe I'm afraid I didn't know. Oh, it'll take me much too much. Teach me how to love. How to love. Something about oh, the secret. It's the secrets I try to hide from myself. I don't understand. I want you to know. You know the reason anymore. Teach me I want to learn how to love. In a classroom, there's no room big enough to hold. You can't love and test you. I'm so glad you're inside of you. No one can take me away. Something about love. Ooh wee, good morning. Indulge me. Y'all know I gotta play some old. These words is just so fantastic. You say amazing. Amazing. Amazing, amazing love. I'm giving y'all this information on music. This is the OJs. This ain't good magic. Blue Magic, teach me how to love. Good morning. Good morning. I hope this morning finds you all well. I was just thinking, one should think at least 3 times a day, deeply preferentially. And I was thinking about how good Blue Magic is. You know, I guess I'm old. Well, this music is older than me or old ass me. But you know how us elder statements get to talking about music, how music used to be. Meanwhile, we used to be freaking to Adina Howard and Montel Jordan. This is how we do it, baby. You know, niggas used to pump their hips to MC Hammer. But yeah, that's not what we talking about today, everybody. I happen to be no, it wasn't even. I wasn't even searching for this. One of my friends, and I must apologize early that I don't know. I can't recall the name of that person who tagged me in this article. And this article, uh, let me get to it because it's on my other device. This article is from NBC. And I imagine that it was actually a report, I guess they had on there. So let me see if I can get to that. No, that's not it. Let's go back. Maybe I go out and go back in. Refresh. Let me get the refresh. Oh, yeah. I got to add here. But the name of the article is Influencer in Popular Podcast Fuel Election Disinformation Among Black Voters, report shows. Okay, yeah. Hold on one second. Let me make sure I pause this here. And let me stop this here. Um, Now that's the name of the article. This article was presented by this report. Well, this report is that social media influencers and popular podcasters serve this information to the black populace, and by the black populace they mean the black voter base, in which they rely on in order to maintain and retain power. So this lady, her name is what is her name? The lady here that produced this. What's that? Give me a moment, people. I guess I could say. I guess her name is important. But this is a this organization. Okay, let me just before I play the video, I only want to just come flat out and start playing the video. At least 40 million Americans may be regularly targeted and fed disinformation within Black online spaces by a host of sources across social media, fueling false information around the election, according to a new report published Tuesday. Touted as the first deep dive into understanding disinformation targeting Black America, the report published by Onyx Impact, a nonprofit organization working to combat disinformation within the Black community, identified half a dozen core online networks reaching or targeting Black Americans online with false and misleading narratives. Pardon. So this is report is published by Onyx Impact, a nonprofit organization. Now, nonprofit organizations, they generally tend to fund some type of funding from either it might be a corporate funder or it might be a government funder. Now, in order to receive that funding, those grants are free. You're not going to be able to get those pristine offices or those upgrades in your car or what have you. Those discount cards that go to Sam's by way of nonprofit organization. You're not going to get that without having to serve some form of purpose. No, when people say put their money where their mouth is, generally with a nonprofit organization, whoever the funder is putting money where normally I guess a broke person would just be somewhere talking. I'm gonna pay these broke people to say what I want to do. The fuel my endeavor or purpose or plan or whatever. But this is the Onyx organization. The Onyx organization seeks to better understand how Black communities engage with information, fight harmful information ecosystems targeting Black voters, and empower Black communities. This organization, let me see. Then this is a quote from the founder. Black people deserve resilient information sharing ecosystems that build trust, power, and community. Adverse information created to mislead or harm, doesn't just close doors, it builds walls of distrust and disillusionment. Fighting adverse information is vital to strengthening and empowering our community. This is from Esosa Osa, founder and CEO of Onyx Impact. Now let's see about Esosa. Let's see about this is what I'm looking here. Meet our founder and CEO, Esosa Osa. Esosa Osa is the founder and the CEO of Onyx Impact, an organization created to better serve and empower Black communities by fighting the harmful information ecosystems targeting them. There's that word ecosystem again. Esosa was previously deputy executive director of Fair Fight Action, a voting rights organization where she led pro democracy reform efforts with a focus on combating adverse messaging and voting policy reform while overseeing the organization's research, communications, political, and organizing teams. Prior to her time in politics, Esosa was a portfolio manager at BlackRock, where she managed a wide array of fixed income products and analyzed monetary and fiscal policy. Is also as a native Ohioan and graduate of Duke University. Okay, and that's her. And this is her. She's the founder of this organization, and this is the report that she's written. Uh, false and misleading narratives. I read it. Conservative commentators like Candace Owens are among those most influential distributors of false information, according to the report, followed by a variety of sources such as platforms geared toward the Black manosphere, like the Fresh and Fit podcast. Some episodes of the show have outright challenged women's intelligence and allowed guests to share false and harmful narratives within pushback. Now, I'm kind of taken aback of why Fred. Now I can understand Candace on. Candace on, so she's known to have strong political views. Now, Fresh and Fit and the Manosphere, I don't know how that kind of fits into, okay, the disinformation, woo, woo, if the people that should know each other, the two genders that should know each other the best are genders of the same racial group. Nobody should know a black male more than a black woman, and vice versa. If you're gonna know any opposite sex on in a generalized state, but you know, I don't know why that's in there. And this is her doing her report about disinformation, and she identified all these sites that were giving disinformation, these social media influencers. Now, meanwhile, let me continue. The report identifies some platforms like the nationally syndicated radio show, The Breakfast Club, as a gateway influencer or an authentic online space that holds critical space for stemming the tide of disinformation. Now, is this something that she has quantitative and qualitative data and information, just evidence and just. I mean, just aside from just beside the fact it's a very popular platform, they got hosts on there that that I guess are captivating to some or many, but who maybe certain people might have become disenchanted with the Breakfast Club in regards to like the way that they handle certain issues, and they may see guests that come on there that might interest them. That then there goes to this part where she says here, these platforms, however, are also pardon me. These platforms, however, are also often targets for bad actors to introduce harmful narratives, according to the report. Now, what she's also she validates them as being a righteous source of information. You won't do this value. You won't get no disinformation from the Breakfast Club. No matter what goes on there. I guess from her opinion. But she also says the fault is that the people, they may bring some people on there that's questionable. But the reason that they bring those people on there is because that's pretty much almost the only way they can attract those what do they call those fringe listeners, those people that almost don't listen to the Breakfast Club, but if they got somebody on they want to pay attention to, they'll listen to the Breakfast Club. Three other effective sources of disinformation report notes are extreme Black nativists and separatists like foundational Black Americans who don't believe in the concept of Pan Africanism and have stressed that people who are not descendants of enslaved people should not speak for on behalf of Black Americans, as well as health skeptics. Let me stick right there. Extreme Black nativists. Uh, like in separatists, like the Foundation of Black Americans. Now here I am. If anybody knows, I identify. I guess by definition, even if I don't say that I am the foundational Black American, I identified once upon a time. For individual and personal reasons, I declared not to be so uh, group specific. I know what I am. I know who I'm a descendant of. I don't need, to be commercialized and, labeled for anything, for any type of grouping purposes whatsoever. But even with that though, just for the sake of them being who they are. So what they say that she says that the statement is that uh, who don't believe in the concept of Pan Africanism. It's not that there was a belief that Pan Africanism as a concept and as an earnestly and honestly um, performed practice. I guess in regards to trade, because that brother love, that brotherly love, cousin long, that don't really, build monuments of economic success, and also just social, academic, you know, all of that, that coming together, we shall overcome, and putting on dashikis and all that type of shit. That level of Pan Africanism, I'm sorry, that is no longer effective to the rational and thinking Black American. Call us a separatist for that. That is what that is, and there's also other reasons. I mean, I I I because I'm gonna get on that. This is something I didn't even. I'm really trying to stick to what we got going on here. I don't see any constructive benefit of arguing with people with darker melanated people from the diaspora, however the fuck they say that shit. I don't see that, because for the most part they just as broke as the Black American, the African American, the Negro, the person of color, the nigga folk. In which I identify myself a stomped down nigga. I from people that was once identified and classified as niggas, as chattel slavery, chattel property in this country, whether they be from indigenous to this land, from genetics that are indigenous to the Americas, or just also, I got to admit, when I did my everybody from Africa. Ain't that what them people tell you? But I digress. And she said, as well as health skeptics such as Rizza Islam, an activist and self-proclaimed intellectual extremist, who has said without evidence that childhood vaccines destroy the brain chemistry and lead to other autism and disabilities. I don't know what Rizza is. I don't. I'm sure that, I guess that if he's going to stand, I mean, if he's still being upheld as who he is, I'm sure that he'll find some way to provide some form of data and evidence in order to uphold his claim. But the thing about it is that I think I had a discussion with a fella, during the COVID, when the vaccine was just about to come out for the COVID, and people were like trying to say, well, we should have autonomy in our health choices, and if I choose not to take it because I already had COVID, geez, why would I take an experimental, and if it's not protecting the people, what I'm saying, because what uh, was believed by some, and I guess this might have been disinformation or misinformation provided by some of the most MSNBC with the racial meltdown. She said to the point that if you took the vaccine, it would protect you from protect others from you, or protect you from others who might have the virus. When they put, and you also got to consider that Black Americans, have a skeptical history in regards to medicine in this country. We're not allowed to ask questions. We're not allowed to, say, well, what if, and what if up it's us asking what if, and exploring whatever possibilities, and going over past behaviors and performances of those who might be doing the particular thing. If that's having these discussions is spreading around disinformation, then you're pretty much compromising our ability to have freedom of speech, which is supposed to be granted. I mean, we show picked enough cotton. Our ancestors show picked enough cotton in this country to be able to have the at least some of the benefits of that Bill of Rights, that freedom of speech, right to bear arms, all that good stuff, right? We're not yelling fire in the crowded theater. If anything, we yelling our theater is on fire. But let me continue with this article here. For that, I don't want to talk about that. That's takes for they talking about RZA and the CDC and the virus. And, okay. The report also identified foreign actors that seek to influence U.S. political discourse, like digital media company African Stream. African Stream denied spreading misinformation, adding that they present an authentically African perspective. We have a rigorous fact checking process, which means that work is checked by three different trained journalists three times before posting on our platforms, the Nairobi based company said in a statement, describing their work as Pan African digital media platform covering affairs concerning Africans at home and in the diaspora. The diaspora, just diaspora. Honest Impact found those six sources collectively have a potential reach of nearly 41 million Americans, adding that each represents spaces where skepticism, anti Black rhetoric, and deception of truth run rampant. For context, that figure is equivalent to nearly every Black person in the country, according to the latest census data. These are things they use your census data for. They say the census is supposed to be able to provide resources and, you get things, you get your parks built, people get. Okay. Over 4 months, a team of researchers for Onyx Impact identified 2,500 online accounts creating, sharing, or amplifying disinformation to Black communities. The researchers also held 7 national focus groups of Black audiences to understand how these narratives were showing up in online spaces. The point of the effort was to gauge the impact of information, said founder of Honest Impact, Esosa Osa, an alumnus of the voting rights group Fair Fight. Constant repetition of false or misleading information, no matter how kind of absurd that disinformation is, said Osai, can be effective across audience, regardless of income, education, or class. Disinformation works because the more times that we hear something, the more likely we are to believe that it is true, she said. Now, I've been saying this word disinformation. You got information, misinformation, and disinformation. Uh, Misinformation, now I can understand, okay, well, if I go about telling you something and either if I'm telling you this purposely, telling you this the way this goes, basically what I'm doing, I'm lying to you. If I misinform you purposely, I'm lying to you. Now, if I've been misinformed, like somebody that lied to me and told me something, and I just happen to believe it through my cognitive reasoning and abilities and logic, and I go and I tell somebody else, uh, this is what I believe to be as true at the time, without having any counter evidence to disprove what I've heard. So how am I somehow a villain? Am I somehow a criminal? Am I somehow someone who must be targeted and whose voice must be silenced? Why can't I issue a correction in the next edition? Isn't that what newspapers and media publications do? Well, we got to issue a correction. Matter of fact, there's a correction at the end of this article. Okay, so narratives with the highest reach and impact across the networks, the report says, include misleading narratives focused on promises that these networks say President Joe Biden has broken civic engagements in issues that stoke division. That's a very vague line, right? That Biden has broken civic engagement. So does it mean that Biden ain't messing around with the niggers no more? And in issues that stoke division, that means that we feel that some Black people in urban areas that might be considered sanctuary cities somehow feel intimidated and nervous about the influx of people that are not from this country coming into. But I digress. I'm trying to stick to what the article is, because once again I'll be accused of, now mind you, I live in Chicago, Illinois, sanctuary city, and I know, and I've witnessed somewhat of the impact of. Let me stick with the story. Joe Biden has broken civic engagement and other issues that stoke civic whatever. Earlier this year, for example, Candace Owens tweeted without evidence that vaccines. Why they keep bringing? They don't bring up money. They never talk about this. She talking all this other. They talking about money. They don't talk about. They talking about vaccines, voting, uh, disinformation, but they're not talking about money. Now, not talking about Candace Owens. We don't. To what Candace Owens talking about vaccines is not nothing that's drawing niggas to listen to her. If niggas is even if black people even drawn to listen. Candace Owens tweeted without evidence that vaccines cause an explosion of child cancer, but experts through data have denied that any link exists. What the fuck they got to do with black people? I mean, I guess black people, kids, black kids, but this is a generalized thing. In another instance, Candace Owens shared inaccurate information that a shooter had killed 21 people, including 19 people. They trying to put her with Alex Jones and whoever the mother Marks is. Someone Hmm. I mean, I guess they feel it kind of feels there's an insult, and I imagine that there's some of us uh, people that are classified as black melanated folks that may not be as sharp as others, but a lot of some this article here and then this purpose, this quest of this woman, this is Sosa the quest that she undertook is like, I got to go and do this report because black folks are so dumb and gullible. They disinformation. What is disinformation? This term here, um, disinformation being spread is information that was spread to from someone who had to know that they were spreading it. Uh, if the person that received the information has done their their evaluation and believe that information that they receive is valid and they roll with it. Now it's up to society and life in general and experience to show them whether or not that information was true or false. Why do we need some form of police? Why do we need a group to do a report and say that we did this and searched all these people? Black folks, they gonna be led astray. Y'all don't give these people really don't give a damn about where black folks is led to, because they really don't give a damn about black folks. Critics have also repeatedly slammed the popular gossip site The Shade Room for being a hub for disinformation, particularly on issues related to Biden. The outlet once reported about a Biden-backed program to distribute crack pipes to promote health equity. Now that was the joke part of it. Now we knew it when he said when they was talking about crack pipes, we knew a lot of give some black people, some Negroes, African Americans credit for having a modicum of intelligence. Now we knew that the man was just they weren't just tossing out crack pipes to the people. We went and researched that. We knew that okay, this is for the needles, so they won't be passed around the HIVs and you know uh I guess that actually the access to where they can they could have that stuff that OD shit or whatever if they the Narcan shit or whatever Narcan asthma pump things they had that shit in there whatever. But it was the fact that this was supposed the clowning part about that was the fact that this was supposed to have been a solution. Well, no, I guess it might have been a better solution for those who might have been addicts or whatever, but this was the generalized solution for Black America, you know. Uh, but it was kind of these are the things they present that's supposed to be helping black folks, like black folks are dumb enough not to be able to figure out what to vote for. Black folks is strung out, they need the most help they need is the fact they strung out on dope in the ghetto. So that okay, so to promote health equity, the site ran with an article by the Washington Free Beacon, a conservative website. Now, the information they got was from the good white folks, the good conservative white folks. The post quickly went viral, and the White House called it misleading and misinformed. In reality, the program was harm reduction was harm reduction program meant to reduce drug overdoses. The shade room corrected the information and followed posts and took the original post down, but for many, the misinformation had already spread further than the truth. They and that once is that again is another insult. I mean, in some cases, I guess if this is what they tell you, this is what their media or platforms tell you, I guess you might mess around and start thinking that. What they say right there is that the the Black American, the African American, Negro folk mind is incapable of processing new information if it counters the former information in which they once received. The shade room did not comment for requests for presentation. The report noted that confronting the challenges created by misinformation is crucial to ensuring the health and stability of our democracy. Democracy is such a generic corn, generic label, canned corn. Uh, Predict our democracy. They're trying to destroy our democracy. It sounds good. It really does. If ideally and ideologically, um, it had actual impact on the African American black folks, in more in which the way that they've been deluded to think that it had. When it is left unchecked, experts said, this information can have devastating effects on the most marginalized communities, including harming physical and mental health. Timothy Welbeck, a civil rights attorney and director for the Center of Anti-Racism at Temple University, said disinformation presented as fact has a heightened ability to influence Black communities, decision making in ways never before seen, particularly less than 5 months from a presidential election. So what they're saying is, if you get a bunch of like-minded people believing or going for the same purpose and having the same form of information that seems to be incontestable to them, they may be able to make some type of substantial change either by their activity or their inactivity. And you see how they put it in relation to a presidential election. So what it says, okay, if you get these niggas talking about they gonna sit on the couch and not even bother with the shit because hell they got a doddering idiot, excuse me, they have a seemingly uh, sitting president that is not mentally capable to run another 4 years, and it seems that it might be of somewhat a concern to those who have reasonably suffered economically in these past few years. So we have never mind. Let me finish this here, man. Y'all already know. Y'all know. Those who know. It can either encourage voter apathy, like I said, sit on the couch, or potentially encourage people to vote differently than they would have already. Meaning, it's okay. I'm gonna vote for Trump, man. Trump. Yeah, when Trump was in office, woo, woo, woo. That's just me mimicking folk. I'm not proclaiming I'm voting for either party. I no longer have any faith in the two parties political system having the best interest of the least of these African American, Black, Negro, or nigger folks' interest in mind. So, that may be my opinion is true or false. That's just from the evidence in which I perceive. Maybe I've been disinformed. Maybe I've been misinformed. Maybe someone needs to correct me and show me evidence other to the contrary. But that's not just these were thoughts I had before the internet was really a strong thing. On its impact, let me see where I was. Where was I? It can either encourage voter apathy or potentially encourage people to vote differently than they would have already, Welbeck said, noting that Americans' biggest issues from the economy, pardon me. Let me start over. Noting that Americans' biggest issues from the economy to Israel's war with Hamas to federal judicial appointments will greatly be affected by who becomes president in November. Now, I mean, they may call me callous, tired of whatever, but It's it's all they it's all theirs. I mean, when you think about it, we and it may be controversial. They may say it's you're playing the victim, but this is a white supremacist society. It's white supremacist held society in America. When you think about power, when you're showed images of power in America, more than likely they're going to show you a white face, whether it be financial power, academic power, political power, whatever. But they want to say, that that our issues is not, the economy is mentioned, but Israel's war and Hamas and federal judicial appointments. I don't give a fuck who's gonna be up in there because they're gonna do what they're gonna do in the name of what their interest is in the federal judicial blah blah blah. In his eyes, a direct byproduct of how successful disinformation continues to spread. Honest Impact offered strategic guidance in the report to those combating in disinformation to engage with those platforms by identifying trusted messengers and discrediting bad actors. Let me say, while there is no evidence that African Americans are more susceptible, now this is the bottom of the article. One more time. While there is no evidence African Americans are more susceptible to disinformation than any other ethnic group, Woolsey said. Consistent targeting of any group has a way of breaking through. It's not happening. It's no real proof of it happening. But hey, if they keep doing it, it could happen. Black voters are less likely or are likely less susceptible to many disinformation narratives, giving their higher deserved levels of skepticism in institutions and government overall. Let me say this one more time. This is the bottom of the article. And this is her talking about her situation. This is Osaka. Black voters are likely less susceptible to many disinformation narratives, giving their deserved higher levels of skepticism in institutions and government overall, she said. But, now, when they say the but, they kind of dismiss everything they said before the but. She said, but just like other communities, when disinformation is targeted and comes from messengers with standing, it can be incredibly effective and dangerous. Polling shows that disinformation remains a concern for most Americans. National survey published this month by the media reform group Free Press found that 79% of adults in the U.S. worry that what they read online includes fake or false information with the deliberate goal to confuse. The poll of 3,000 people, the poll of 3,000 people, 3,000 whole people across the U.S. also found that 76% of respondents are concerned that they were reading misleading information online about the presidential election. Black Americans, in particular, are also disproportionately more likely to get their news from social media, the Free Press survey found. Black Americans, in particular, are disproportionately more likely to get their news from social media. Now, they say this here, but even if that's true, what are the reasons why that is? Maybe we don't get the daily news delivered to our door, or maybe we don't have the advanced news cable networks or something. I don't know, but that's what the survey found. The survey of 3,000 people also said there's nothing new about increasing disinformation and misinformation ahead of recent presidential elections. In 2016, Russia set out to interfere with the election by spreading propaganda on social media, hacking into campaigns, and probing state voter databases, according to a Senate report in 2020. They have coordinated the efforts to deter black voters from going to the polls more systemically, including conservative activists making more than 1,000 fake robocalls to deter Detroit voters who are overwhelmingly black from voting by mail. Once again, skepticism in institutions and government. Uh, come on now. Russian interference. Some of us was really, I mean, and I say this because I'm one of these platforms, because you see I'm talking right now, because I know this is not necessarily going to go anywhere, as far as virality. And I'm doing my best reading voice, trying to talk to y'all, tell y'all about what this here is. Um, During that time period, and they were talking about the bots, the Russian bots, and the some so-called the suspected fake black and well black interest site, black empower, black love sites or whatever. They were being targeted by Russian interests, and they were spreading disinformation. I wasn't doing nothing but talking about Hillary Clinton's history and past. But due to the fact that I wasn't necessarily speaking in support of the Democratic Party, and all of that and everybody was saying that we should be afraid of Donald Trump. I still don't understand how one elderly white man is any more fearful than the other elderly white person, other than the fact that the other one doesn't seem like they're able to recognize where they are for the 100% of the time that they're awake during the day, for whatever 100% of the time awake means for that person. But enough about Kind Master Biden. Mean Master Trump. Mean Master Trump seems to be, no matter how you see it, no matter how much disdain and you can say, well, some of them people saying, well, I'd rather, they reel them in like Bernie. What's it say? Weekend at Bernie. I don't care if they reel them in like Weekend at Bernie and prop them up. I'm still voting. So I'm like saying this. So what you mean to say is that you rather vote in a corpse, and then and these are some of the same people that want to tell me when I say I don't have any faith in the system anymore, that I'm an irresponsible voter. Now, I'm a registered voter. I can vote anytime I want to, but it's generally for local elections. All politics is local. Today, however, also said the way disinformation is presented to a population with outsized political power and influence continues to be more sophisticated. Black Americans are projected to account for 14% of eligible voters in November and have a higher turnout rate than Latino voters, despite making up a lower share of the U.S. population. Recent outreach to black voters by Biden and former President Donald Trump is evident of an emphasis on capturing the demographic. The latest NBC News poll found that 2 in 3 black voters ages 18 to 49 support Biden. Sweet Jesus. As well as 88% of older black voters. And the old folks, they're gonna go with the old kind method. Trump, meanwhile, has garnered support from 1 in 4 young black voters ahead of this year's election and 6% of older black voters, according to NBC's news poll, in an election even minor which even minor changes in voting patterns in battleground states could decide the race. In comparison to 2020, no less than 78% of black voters chose Biden, according to exit polling data. But not all the experts believe that disinformation efforts have substantial influence now or will ever have in the future. I'm gonna read. Okay, Dean Frieden, the presidential professor, he remains hesitant about overstating how deep misinformation runs within the black community. It is incredibly difficult to draw a straight line between any kind of communication and the kinds of attitudinal and behavioral changes that people would like communication to have, he said. It's just very hard to change people's minds and their behavior in substantial ways from what they're already doing. That means that just like you, no matter how much us folks get on here and talk bad about the Democratic Party and their participants and what they do, about benign neglect, about, if you're going to vote for these people, demand something of tangible and constructive value from them, no matter how much we say that, uh, they're going to do it. They're going to support their Democratic Party, regardless to whatever kind of voices those people, those us good, uh, for lack of a better term, and this word is overused, us woke folks. They don't give a damn about what us woke folks is talking about over here. Yeah, just use it. Yeah, I wish I wouldn't vote for the good them Democrat folk. Then that is what that is. That's their choice. And then we look at the results, and when the results start coming through, those people generally are the quiet. But I digress. How much of this stuff left to go? I'm at the end, so yeah, we almost done, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you if you've stuck around for any amount of time up to this point. Okay, let me read this quote again. And this is Dean Free, the presidential professor of communication at the University of Philadelphia, and an expert in digital politics, and he remains hesitant about overstating how deep misinformation runs within the black community. That means he not ready to jump all in and say that misinformation, disinformation really having that big effect on the black community. And this is what he says: it is incredibly difficult to draw a straight line between any kind of communication and the kinds of attitudinal and behavior changes that people would like the communication to have. That means changes in attitudes and changes in behavior. If you don't understand what attitude means, not calling any of the listeners stupid, but I just want to have clarity for those who might be paying attention. It's just very hard to change people's minds and their behavior in substantial ways from what they're already doing. You're already in the pattern. You got a pattern in behavior. Your attitude already set. That's why they say 88% of the old folks, they don't give a damn. They're gonna vote for him whether if they got to just wheel his ass in on a gurney. However, Freeland acknowledged that even a slight change in behavior could tip the race to Biden or Trump. The vast majority of people who consume disinformation is a small group of people, but in a close election, a small group of people can be sufficient to, at least potentially, sway the election one way or the other. And that's it, he said. And then he said, and that's it. And I'm gonna go back. They said like just like in order to avoid misinformation and disinformation, certain articles put corrections at the end. So the correction at the end of this article. An earlier version of this article misclassified the Breakfast Club according to the report's criteria. The report classifies it as a gateway influencer, not as an outright distributor of false information. So they had to go back and fix it for the Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club wasn't going. Don't y'all group us in with the influencer and the black podcasters. We're sophisticated. We're the gay. We are those. We're the plug. We're the gateway influencer. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, this just what I'm doing. My buddy, my homie said, he said, man, why it matter? Why you want to inform? What's the purpose of informing? And I guess if I wanted to inform people, I could have went to school and been a teacher. I guess I'm not too old to be a teacher, but I have a socialism, not a socializing thing. I'm iffy on being around people. Sometimes I can tolerate being around people. Sometimes I can't. But he said, "What's the deal? Well, because I'm trying to monetize these platforms." And I said, "I'm trying to inform people." And I said, "I got to be careful. We're trying. My purpose is to inform people." He said, "You know what? That ain't no money in it." I don't know. Maybe it isn't. Maybe this, like I say, information, disinformation, and misinformation seems to be gaining popularity, but that's not. That's knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Those have from my understanding, been three tenement, was it three tenants? Well, three strong policies or ideologies. No, knowledge, wisdom, understanding, traits. We'll say the traits or things to push for. And that's those are elements of a civilized mind, and with a civilized mind, you'll be able to form a stronger civilization. So yeah, I'll put myself in situations where my voice can't be heard due to the fact I'm being deemed as a, a, a disinformational uh, influencer. I'm not a podcaster. I think that podcast shit is never mind. Peace and love. I'm out. I'll let y'all next go around.